This is Cosmic News. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Cosmic News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, red alert warning signs. Nibiru is set for a close encounter with Earth that will lead to a destructive event and huge loss of life. Plus, the hollow Earth. Is there an evil force preventing expeditions to locate the hollow Earth entrance? With one organizer coming down with a deadly brain cancer. Was he infected with this deadly disease to prevent this expedition taking place? And many whistleblowers, scientists and astronomers meeting untimely deaths. Were they taken out for spilling the beans on classified information? Okay, into this week's news. One of the most closely guarded secrets on this planet by the controlling elite is that the most advanced race on this planet is not the United States, Russia or China, but the inhabitants of the inner Earth that has technology thousands of years more advanced than Earth. And anybody planning to reveal this truth by organizing expeditions to the Hollow Earth entrance would be deemed a threat to national security. Steve Curry plans such an expedition to confirm the Hollow Earth entrance that was to depart on June the 26th, 2007. But Steve became very ill with brain cancer and passed away shortly after. The trip was then cancelled. Was Steve infected with this lethal disease to prevent this expedition taking place? Another expedition was planned by Brooke Agnew but failed to materialize. It seems that there is some powerful force preventing any such expedition to locate the Hollow Earth from being carried out. This following report originates from ourhollowearth.com, titled Voyage to Our Hollow Earth Expedition blog. A substantial amount of unusual evidence indicates that our Earth is hollow and has polar openings that lead into the interior. There are presently hundreds of Hollow Earth theory fans worldwide who subscribe to this theory. A proposed expedition would like to conduct some scientific observations in the Arctic that we hope will resolve once and for all whether the Hollow Earth theory has any validity. The indigenous Eskimos believe there is a hole in the Arctic Ocean. Observations of several Arctic explorers of mirages of land in the Arctic indicates the most plausible location for a North Polar opening that leads into the interior of the Earth is located at 87.7 north latitude, 142.2 east longitude. To check out this theory, a group of Hollow Earth believers and scientists would like to charter a Russian nuclear icebreaker into the Arctic Ocean. From the northern shores of Franz Josef Island, the expedition would like to first go to the North Geographic Pole and from there south onto the 141st east longitude meridian. The discovery of a virulent green land in the Arctic by Arctic explorer Richard Evelyn Byrd was reportedly reached at a distance of about 1,700 statute miles. It is uncertain from what point in the Arctic he took his flight beyond the pole to reach that undiscovered land. But from any point in the Arctic, 1,700 miles brings one only over land covered by ice and snow. For example, from the New Siberian Islands to Greenland over the geographic North Pole on meridian 141 east longitude brings one to Greenland in only 1,450 miles. Therefore, the land Admiral Byrd discovered beyond the pole covered with lush green vegetation must be located within the North Polar opening. That land has been sighted out over the Arctic wastes by several different explorers from different directions at different times. It is a land that has been sighted always in the same direction, whether seen from Greenland, Alaska or northern Russia. The Russians call it Sannikov Island and have seen it north of the New Siberian Islands. Admiral Peary, on his way to the pole in 1909, sighted land northwest of Cape Thomas Hubbard on the northwest coast of Ellesmere Island in northern Canada. With him, Lieutenant Green Macmillan and their Eskimos also saw it, and even later went on an expedition out on the ice to find it, and only turned back when their Eskimos claimed it only to be a mist. Macmillan swore it looked every bit like real land. Admiral Peary did also, and so he named it Crocker Island. Dr. Cook, on his way to the pole in 1906, said it also, towards the northwest of his trek to the pole from Ellesmere Island, and even took a picture of it. Then from Harrison Bay on the north coast of Alaska, Captain Keenan sighted land also towards the northwest. Jan Lamprecht, in his book Hollow Planets, makes an excellent case that these sightings of mirages of land in the Arctic could easily actually be land within a polar opening, seen as a doubly inverted mirage caused by the warm air that comes up out of the polar hole. Several of us can trace our ancestors back to the intrepid Viking explorers that settled northern Europe in the 7th century. Some later migrated to Iceland, and some even further to the west coast of Greenland. These hardy Arctic colonizers discovered every year that the more plentiful hunting was further to the north. Then in 1721, when Greenland was resettled, it was noticed that the Viking colonists had disappeared from Greenland. This was the subject of Arctic author Villard Alamo Stevenson's book, Unsolved Mysteries of the Arctic. He thought they died out, but Lieutenant Green discovered where they went when he befriended the Eskimos and asked them point blank. Eskimos told Lieutenant Green that the Viking colonists had migrated further and further north. Then one day a hunting party returned saying they had discovered a paradise in the north, a place the Eskimos had always known about but generally stayed away from because they believed it to be inhabited by evil spirits. When the Vikings' exploration party had returned and delivered the wonderful news of their discovery, the Eskimos say that the Viking colonists all promptly packed their bags and, singing songs, departed happily northwards, out over the ice, and never returned. Their cattle, chickens and other animals were later found wandering around their abandoned settlement by European visitors, but no settlers. They didn't think to ask the Eskimos what had happened to them. Lieutenant Green wrote an article in the December 1923 issue of Popular Science Monthly that the Eskimo tradition is that out over the ice towards the northwest of Greenland, in the direction Admiral Peary sighted Crocker Land and Dr. Cook sighted Bradley Land, is a land that is warm, is clothed in summer verdure the year around, is populated by fat caribou and musk ox. It lies, they say, even to this day, in the direction of the coastal trail route north. This popular expedition proposes that we seek out that land where our cousins, the Greenland Vikings, went and visit them in their hidden land within the North Polar opening, that is, within the hollow of our Earth. Indications are that that land is inhabited. The story of the Scandinavian explorer Olfur Jansen and his father, who attained that land through the North Polar opening in 1829, maintains the people there are friendly, highly advanced in the sciences, arts and geometry, and that they are ardent worshippers of the Israelites' God Jehovah, who they believe has a throne on the sun of the inner earth. Most likely, since their God is Jehovah, these peoples of inner earth are actually the legendary lost 10 tribes of Israel, whom the apocryphal author Esdras wrote escaped the Assyrians in 687 BC and migrated to a region in the north called Azarath. taking a year and a half to reach that land. It's a veritable paradise. Deuteronomy 34 called it the outermost parts of heaven, where the lost tribes were driven from their original home in Palestine. Jeremiah called it the land of the north, Jer 3:12-18. Other scriptures refer it to as the North Countries. It is a land where there is much gold, an abundance of precious stones, metals, and giant forests. It is a veritable Garden of Eden. Indeed, Olfa Jansen claims that this is where the original Garden of Eden is located to this day. Within our hollow earth, he was taken there on a monorail train of the inner earth by friendly inner earth inhabitants. It is located on the highest mountain plateau of the inner continent, where all manner of fruits, vines, shrubs and trees and flowers grow in righteous profusion. In this garden 4 rivers have their source in a mighty artesian fountain. They divide and flow in 4 directions. The place is called by the inhabitants the navel of the earth, or the beginning, the cradle of the human race. The names of the rivers are Euphrates, the Pison, Gihon, and Hiddekel, the smoky god. It is hoped that this expedition can find this outermost part of Eden, a land within the North Polar opening at or near 87.7 north latitude and 1422 east longitude, about 1,700 miles directly north of the New Siberian Islands. For scientific purposes, gyroscopes will be taken to help determine the beginning of the entrance to inner Earth. At the geographic North Pole, a gyroscope will be set horizontally. It will be used to detect a curvature greater than the normal Earth curvature of 68.9 statute miles to a polar degree. Entrance into a polar opening will cause the gyroscope to tip gradually vertical. When it reaches vertical orientation, the ship should be located approximately halfway through the polar opening. The ship's radar could then be bounced off the opposite side of the opening straight above the ship to determine the diameter of the polar opening at its neck. A quarter of the way into the polar opening, the inner sun should come within view over the horizon to the north, such as was reported by Olfa Jansen and Fridtjof Nansen. Thermometer readings from the crow's nest should show a higher temperature from the air emanating from within the hollow interior of the Earth than air down next to the ice. Temperatures farther south should be colder than further north with a north wind, such as was reported by Fridtjof Nansen. The sea should be tested periodically to find that point on the polar lip where centrifugal force separates the salt from the fresh water from iceberg melt water leaving from water on the surface of the ocean, as reported by Olfa Jansen and Fridtjof Nansen. A lookout should be maintained for driftwood, plants, dirt and rocks scraped off inner Earth river banks and deposited on the icebergs as they were pushed out to sea. Land will be expected to be reached at a distance of about 1,700 statute miles north of the northernmost coast of Arctic lands, as reported by Admiral Byrd. Large rivers emptying into the sea should be found with land covered with lush vegetation. The inhabitants of inner Earth will likely contact us with one of their ships or flying saucer type crafts. Permission will be requested from them for further entrance into their world domain. Descendants of the original lost tribes and Viking colonists will hopefully be found there. With verification that our Earth is indeed hollow, with polar openings into the interior where descendants of the lost tribes of Israel and Greenland Viking colonists live, a revolutionary change will be required in all areas of history, education, the sciences and art. The theory of gravity will have to be revised to account for an inner Earth surface upon which people can dwell normal, earthbound lives with their feet firmly planted on the ground and not floating around in zero gravity, as orthodox science maintains would be the case in a hollow Earth. The theory of evolution will be dealt a decisive blow with the establishment of the location of the actual original Garden of Eden, indicating the historical accuracy of the Bible and the reality of our first parents, Adam and Eve. For example, in the lost books of the Bible, in the book of Adam and Eve, is given to understand our first parents originated from inner Earth, after being driven from the Garden of Eden by God for partaking of the forbidden fruit. They were told to dwell in the cave of treasures, where they got lost. When they finally found their way out, the sun that came up in the morning was different than the soft sunlight that shone in the Garden of Eden. This new sun burned them. Our hotter, harsher sun that shines on the outside of our world is different from that sun that shines in the Garden of Eden. Be prepared to be astounded, amazed, exhilarated. A Russian nuclear icebreaker with 70,000 horsepower and a range of 4 years that will cut through the ice like butter will be at our disposal. This ship has it all. We will be travelling through the most hostile climate and conditions on Earth with the utmost in comfort and ease. It is a veritable motel on ice. If in the event we are unable to locate the North Polar opening and enter into the inner Earth, we will continue south on the 141st meridian from the geographic North Pole to the New Siberian Islands and spend a couple of days there checking out the exotic animal remains thought by Hollow Earth researchers to be of inner Earth origin. On the northern shores of the New Siberian Islands, we would look for the legendary deposits of mammoth skeletons and other exotic wildlife remains deposited after originating from a land within the North Polar opening. According to Hollow Earth theorists, rivers that empty into the Arctic Ocean from inner Earth are covered with ice in winter, where animals wandering from the nearby pastures sometimes fall into the crevices in the ice and are instantly frozen. Later, when the rays of the summer sun shine through the polar opening, the inner Earth rivers thaw out and push their freshwater icebergs out to sea, loaded with their loads of frozen dead animals. Thus remains of woolly rhino, steppe lions, giant deer, mammoth and foxes, and a hardy breed of horses, which scientists claim are all prehistoric, are preserved in the Arctic ice, but which Hollow Earth theorists claim more than likely come from inside the Earth through the North Polar opening, floating out in their tomb of ice, later unloading them onto Arctic shores. To view the full transcript, go to my website endtimes23.com, where I've posted the link. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. This was an update on the Hollow Earth expedition that originates from voyagehollowearth.com, titled Voyage to Our Hollow Earth. Our hearts and prayers go out to the Curry family on the passing of Steve Curry. He lived life as we all should and will be deeply missed. We miss you, Steve. As a result, this site has been closed and all future trips have been cancelled. For more information about this website, please contact us at info@voyagehollowearth.com. Indigenous Eskimos believe that there is a hole in the Arctic Ocean. An observation by several Arctic explorers like Olaf Janssen and Rear Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd, USN, who claim to have seen mirage margins of exposed land near the North Pole indicate that the most plausible location for an opening is located at 84.4 north latitude and 141 east longitude. Steve Curry's expedition company has chartered the Russian nuclear icebreaker Yamal to take 100 adventurers to the North Pole for an expedition to conduct scientific observations that could resolve once and for all whether the hollow earth theory has any validity. Over the years, many whistleblowers, astronomers, scientists have died under very suspicious circumstances, either by assassination, staged accidents, or suddenly coming down with rare kinds of cancers. I've posted the links with detailed accounts of many highly respected and very experienced in their fields of the sciences and astronomy, as well as many whistleblowers whose only crime was to try and warn the public what their leaders are keeping from them. To view the list, go to my website endtimes23.com, where I've posted the link. There's a live link to my website near the end of this video. And finally, as we approach the final days of our present civilization due to the arrival of the system Nibiru and the subsequent destruction this massive object will cause, what are the signs this event is drawing near? In the last few weeks, many second sun images are now appearing from many locations around our planet. This is the main sign this event is drawing near. Secondly, the skies, seas and rivers of our planet will increasingly appear red as huge amounts of iron oxide dust dragged in by Nibiru enters our atmosphere. Third, you will also see a huge increase in migration from many countries as people become aware something is not right and they need to move from their present location. 4. You will also see your elected government officials acting strangely and out of character. More false flag events will occur as concerned leaders try to distract your attention from this coming event. 5. You will see wars breaking out, which is occurring right now. As pressure grows on the political elite, you can expect many unusual events to occur. 6. A massive increase in UFOs appearing right around the planet. Another important sign to look out for. 7. Watch out for the elite heading for their survival bunkers. This is one of the most important signs to look out for. 8. Earthquakes and volcanoes will accelerate in frequency and strength. And 9. You should expect to be ready for a Yellowstone supervolcano eruption. There are signs this is starting to occur, with animals fleeing the area and roads melting. Even now, there is a secrecy clampdown on info leaking out on this massive volcano. My advice is that you should all stay calm and be ready to head for your survival locations. Okay, my friends, you're all invited to join this channel by subscribing to endtimes23, which is a totally free subscription service. You're also invited to add me as a friend on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. If you'd like to drop me a line on my blog, by all means do so, or if you'd like to join one of my circles in Google+, the links are under this video. All this week's news links can be found on my website, endtimes23.com. There's a live link near the end of this video. Well, that's your lot for this week, my friends. I do hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll be back with you in a week's time with another edition of Informer News. So until then, this is your Informer signing off. Friends, I'll see you on the flip side. Red alert warning signs. Nibiru is set for a close encounter with Earth that will lead to a destructive event and huge loss of life. Plus, the hollow Earth. Is there an evil force preventing expeditions to locate the hollow Earth entrance? With one organizer coming down with a deadly brain cancer. Was he infected with this deadly disease to prevent this expedition taking place? And many whistleblowers, scientists and astronomers Agnew, but failed to materialize. It seems that there is some powerful force preventing any such expedition to locate the hollow Earth from being carried out. This following report originates from ourhollowearth.com, titled Voyage to Our Hollow Earth Expedition blog. A substantial amount of unusual evidence indicates that our Earth is hollow and has polar openings that lead into the interior. There are presently hundreds of hollows to the hollow Earth entrance would be deemed a threat to national security. Steve Curry planned such an expedition to confirm the hollow Earth entrance that was to depart on June the 26th, 2007. But Steve became very ill with brain cancer and passed away shortly after. The trip was then cancelled. Was Steve infected with this lethal disease to prevent this expedition taking place? Another expedition was planned by Brooke. This is Cosmic News. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Cosmic News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, meeting untimely deaths. Were they taken out for spilling the beans on classified information? Okay, into this week's news. One of the most closely guarded secrets on this planet by the controlling elite is that the most advanced race on this planet is not the United States, Russia or China, but the inhabitants of the inner Earth that has technology thousands of years more advanced than Earth. And anybody planning to reveal this truth by organizing expeditions